I'm back with Chad Robichaux. He's the founder of the Mighty Oaks Foundation, also co-founded Save Our Allies, which has extracted thousands, in fact, 17,000 people from Afghanistan. And Chad, you were making the point, which I think is very important, that there was an opportunity for the United States and Afghanistan to make a transition from an initial direct involvement to essentially a modified Reagan doctrine, where the Afghans take the lead and the international community supports them. But that was mismanaged, and as a result, you got the war weariness in which people were choosing between two extreme options. Either we're fully in there or we're fully out of there. And then we got this disastrous Biden evacuation. Now, would you agree that if it had been Trump in charge, he would have evacuated, but not in the inept way that Biden did?
Yeah, you know, we had 4,000 troops in Afghanistan during the evacuation. At President Trump's tenure, he had 2,500 troops. I would really go into the ROEs in here and show how ROEs really change our trajectory of U.S. deaths and injuries and really change the scope of the battlefield. But I believe President Trump would have, he was dead set on withdrawing. I don't agree with them. Him or Biden negotiated with the Taliban, but I do believe he would have not given that Bagram Air Force Base over to the Taliban. I believe he would have handed it over to the international community, and I think we would have still participated in a support and advisory role there. And I mean, to say we have 2,500 troops in Afghanistan, we have that in Djibouti, we have that all over the world right now, and so it was really just it was inappropriately presented to the American people. We had that level of contingency all over the world.
And not to mention the fact of leaving all those ammunitions behind, right?
$85 billion is what they were said to have left in technology. And the difference that I think really took place was President Biden gave a date and said, we will be out of by this date. President Trump gave terms. And that's a big difference in that kind of strategy, because terms would have been, again, I don't agree with the withdrawal, but if are going to withdraw, we will leave when we get Americans out. We will leave when we get our allies out. We will leave when we get our $85 billion in equipment out. And we're not going to leave until then. President Biden gave a date, and when he realized he didn't have enough time, he asked for an extension from the Taliban, and they said no because they negotiated with the enemy. We didn't negotiate with our international partners. We didn't negotiate with the Afghan government that we spent 20 years putting in place. The White House negotiated with the enemy of 20 years, the Taliban, and that was a mistake.
And in that chaos, people are filling up these planes, and they're apparently half of them are not vetted. They don't know if they are friends of our enemies. Yeah. So let's talk about Aziz. Here's Aziz. He actually had applied for a visa earlier to get out, but now he's in a desperate situation. How do you get him out?
Well, yeah, see, it spent 6 years in that process, so I knew I had to get him out. I put together a team of former special operations veterans that had the experience to do this, and as we put together his team, we had 12 special operations veterans, highly trained, and we were saying, hey, this is bigger than Aziz. There's Americans, interpreters, families, women, children. Let's help as many people as we can, and we all felt really God had burdened our hearts to do that, and we were obedient to that, to say yes and lean forward. And honestly, beyond that, we witnessed a miracle. God orchestrated a complete miracle to allow us not only save Aziz and his family, but ultimately 17,000 people.
I mean, and this is something that the U.S. government seems like it was not really doing. And I say that because I read an article, I even talked about in the podcast, where in the intervening months since the evacuation, the State Department has been getting all these emails from Americans or American allies still in Afghanistan. They don't even open the emails.
No, they did.
I mean, unbelievable.
And the White House is saying, it's one of the things the White House is saying, if the Americans want to leave, then they just have to go to the airport and leave, which is, I don't think it was naive of them, because I think they knew exactly what was happening. The White House took the NEO operation, the non-combatant evacuation operation, away from the Department of Defense, where it belongs, and gave it to the State Department, who's never done that before. They don't know how to do it. And they made the embassy, the airport like an embassy, and the military was able to secure that, but not go outside and do evacuations. And so the outer perimeter of that airport became controlled by the Taliban by way of our State Department, and they checked who was allowed to come in and out. And so if you're some young 20-year-old girl that's there on a medical aid mission or a missionary trip, you're not going to go show your blue passport to the Taliban. They're literally shooting people in the streets, cutting body parts off in the streets of people. And I couldn't imagine an American doing that. For the White House to say that was just, either naive or just complicit.
I mean, and even Aziz, who knows the territory, I mean, he couldn't get through the gate. He he was outside another gate, and you had to go get him and bring him through. to get him out. Talk about him. Talk about a little bit about his life now, because you just said something right before we started filming that I found quite remarkable, which is a change of life for Aziz.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's come to America. It's after 9 months in the humanitarian center. He's come to America. He's here in Texas with us. He comes to church with us here locally at our church here in the Woodlands.
And does that mean is he a convert or what?
Yeah, he's given his life to Christ and got baptized, and that didn't happen because of coming here. It happened because while he was there, he has an amazing story of just of hitting his knees one night, and he was praying and praying and praying, and nothing was happening. And so he remembered my faith and his American friend's faith, and he got on his knees and he prayed to Jesus, and he fell asleep. Had this incredible dream where I believe Jesus came to him in this dream, and when he woke up, we called him and said, "Hey, we're coming to get you." And I remember telling him, like, "Hey, God loves you. We're coming to get you." And that just really solidified it for him, that when he turned to Jesus, that the door was open for him to be able to actually escape, and we got him out.
Amazing. We'll be right back with Chad Robichaux.